Artificial intelligence is changing the face of networking, and we're going to talk all about it with today's amazing special guest, Larry Kaufman.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fraction AIO. Is your company growing, but your operations are still stuck in the past? If your team is drowning in manual data entry or you're watching potential deals slip away, you need more than just ChatGPT. You need a strategy. Fraction AIO builds the systems that scale with you. They replace expensive overhead with automated workflows and deploy custom AI lead generation engines that run 24/7. Whether you need a fractional AI officer to steer the ship or a custom build to automate your sales pipeline, Fraction AIO turns hype into higher margins. Stop letting inefficiency eat your profits. Book your discovery call today at fractionaio.com.
Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast, where we make AI simple, practical, and accessible for small business owners and leaders. Forget the complicated tech talk or expensive consultants. This is where you'll learn how to implement AI strategies that are easy to understand and can make a big impact for your business. The Artificial Intelligence Podcast is brought to you by Fraction AIO, the trusted partner for AI digital transformation. At Fraction AIO, we help small and medium-sized businesses boost revenue by eliminating time-wasting, non-revenue generating tasks that frustrate your team. With our custom AI bots, tools, and automations, we make it easy to shift your team's focus to the tasks that matter most, driving growth and results. We guide you through a smooth, seamless transition to AI, ensuring you avoid costly mistakes and invest in the tools that truly deliver value. Don't get left behind. Let Fraction AIO help you stay ahead in today's AI-driven world. Learn more and get started at fractionaio.com. Now, Larry, I'm really excited to have you here because, like me, you're passionate about networking, and I've seen how it can help or hurt when you use AI as part of your networking. I've seen people who use it too much and it kind of decreases their social skills, and they kind of become those people who order food with no contact delivery. Like, I don't want the delivery man looking me in the eyes and talking to me because I won't know what to say. And that can be very detrimental, but can also help you do the right research, figure out what someone is passionate about, kind of help you prepare for those meetings, write introductions. And there's so many good things it can be for, but I would love to hear kind of your perspective before we even get into AI. What are like the critical elements of networking, of the things you want to get right if you want to grow your business, grow your social life, grow your career? Let's start there and then we'll get into the AI.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. Great to be on your podcast. Great to meet you. And great to share insights about networking and AI, because I wrote a book about networking, connecting, and giving in 2019, but AI wasn't as prevalent as it was today. And I would say what's critical about networking, I kind of redefined it when I wrote the book. I always looked at networking was, if you've been to events, Jonathan, and, in the day I used to just bring a bunch of business cards. And the whole idea was to unload all those business cards to as many people as possible in exchange for theirs. And then that was awesome, fantastic, loaded up in my CRM, and life was great. And that is terrible, because I think networking today is about getting to know people, asking questions about people, right? Networking is kind of like business dating. And so I'm getting to know people. I'm learning about people, a little personal, a little, where they're from, maybe tell me about family, tell me about the job, what they're doing, what they're looking to achieve. And I like to learn about people so I could be more giving, may make a connection. Jonathan, we're at this event, you got to meet Sue, who's here as well. I think you guys are going to really hit it off. So I think the important thing about networking today is not to be transactional, but to be more authentic and to think differently about cultivating relationships, not gathering business cards.
One of my early mentors taught me that favors are a muscle, not a finite resource. And I realized that because we kind of think, oh, I have this connection, I can only use it once. I can only ask this person for one favor. I can only do one thing. And we then start collecting and trying to remember all of these things. And it becomes very transactional, like you said. And when I started thinking, you know what, I'll just do nice things. And people reveal themselves. If you do a couple of nice things for someone and then they start treating you worse, it's like, I would rather find out that you're horrible early on in the relationship rather than wait 6 years. So it's like, oh, thanks for letting me know now that I don't want to be friends with you. So there's this fear that you'll get taken advantage of. But really, once you stop worrying about transactions, it's a lot easier to have conversations because you don't have those like hidden motive. And most of the time when we try to figure out, is this person a good contact? Are they going to help me grow my business? We're guessing too soon. And it's most people, I can tell you the biggest clients I've ever had, I didn't think it was a sales call. I didn't think it was that. I thought it was they were just calling me to ask a question or they were just friend of a friend. And it's always those where you have no ulterior motive that you can create that powerful connection. And then exactly that moment where you go, oh my gosh, I know someone you should meet, rather than thinking, I know someone you should meet, but first you give me a favor, then I'll do you a favor. And that creates, this uncomfortable conversation of, and I get more than I give before the conversation or relationship ends. And it's so transactional, and transactional often then becomes competitive and it never ends in happiness. And I think that's a really important lesson that it really changed my life. And I think it's really critical that we start to see people as more than a resource. Because I remember going to conferences where everyone would give me their business card. I was like, I haven't met you yet. What's happening here? And I started thinking, I'm only going to give someone my business card if they ask for it or after I've talked to them, because you give it to so many people that would never do business with you. They're in a different industry. They're not the right fit. So adding a little bit of the human in, I think that really makes sense. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make when they go to their first conference or their first networking event and they're trying to get out into the world and they don't know what to do? The business card one, of course, I've seen so many times. But what are some of the other things that start to make people kind of act unnatural?
I think they're selling themselves and the company, the products or services that they represent. So they're dominating the conversation. Oh, Jonathan, great to meet you. So I work for Jefferson Wells. Let me tell you what we do. And they can't wait to get that out. And so I've done a dating podcast because I feel dating and business, they really overlap. And so I think if you talk too much, right, during that date or during that first interaction at a networking event, a conference, one-to-one meeting, you're going to go away from that business meeting, that networking meeting alone, right? Same thing on a date. If you're all about yourself and not about the other person. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is we're nervous, but we're all about me. And I focus on you. I focus on the other person. I don't have another motive. I'm not thinking about, sure hope I can get their business. I just want to learn about that other person. And it's funny when you ask about the other person, who they are personally and professionally, it does come back to you. And you know what? If it doesn't, that's fine. Maybe at the end, you and I both know probably the best meeting is at the end where they go, Larry, I don't even know anything about you. You asked all these great questions about me, but I don't know anything about you. Why don't we have a second meeting? Or if you're at a conference, if you're not local, why don't we have a virtual? Or if you are local, let's get together. I'd be happy to share more about myself, but that wasn't my intention.
It's so funny. Right when you brought up dating, that's what I was thinking about, because I learned dating before I learned business. And it's so much harder to have a conversation with a beautiful woman than to have a business conversation. Once I learned the structure of a conversation and realized that if you're just nice and you show interest in someone, it really means a lot. One of the things that kind of blows my mind, and this is always surprising, is like the average man gets like one compliment every 6 months. It's so rare for us, like very rarely, unless someone wants something from you, does someone say, oh, can I buy you a drink? It's like when it happens to me, and it is rare, and it's been years because I've married for a long time, but it's like, oh my gosh. And it's so easy to get time with someone just by being nice and not having an ulterior motive. And when I first started out, I said, what if I'll try this at these conferences? I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not good at business, but I'm good at dating. And I'll try the same things. Like, oh my gosh, it's so much easier. You just give value, which means being nice to people and say, oh, let me buy you a drink, and finding out what they care about. Some people really want like the best car. Some people just want to talk about their family. Some people really care about their next promotion. If you just let people talk, and I try to have the 30-70 ratio, like I want them to talk 70% of the time and I talk about 30 so that they say the majority, because there is that really funny dating story where you go on a date, you come home, you go, it was the best date ever. And the girl goes, he talked the whole time. I never talked. And the more we talk, the more we think it was a great experience. And I think this is a really, really powerful lesson that if you show interest in people, I can tell you that when people remember my kids' names or what my kids care about or a small story I've told them, it's very, very significant to me. Like I have 5 kids. It's pretty much my life is my kids. That's why I have so many. I don't do cool stuff anymore, but I do dad stuff. And like the things that really matter to me, like their experiences. And like one of the things we're going through right now is that my daughter, they kind of want her to start training for the Olympic Taekwondo team here. And my wife was like really into it. And I was like, well, it's great when she wins because we've only ever seen her win. but like that's a knockout division. I was like, I know I don't want to see my daughter get knocked out. She's 12. I'm not ready for that. But like anyone who can talk to me about that, you get all time of day, right? Like if you remember that story, because it's really important to me. And that's one of the things that's like the great equalizers when you talk to someone about their family, their kids, because that's a universal experience. Everyone has been in a relationship or had kids or nieces and nephews or been a kid, and you start to form these connections. And it's like my favorite thing about entrepreneurship or being in leadership is that you get to choose who you work with. When you're an employee, there's always someone you hate at the office and you're stuck. Like you just have to accept it. There's people you like and people you don't. But when you're an entrepreneur, you get to make those decisions. And I started thinking, what kind of people do I want to be around? What kind of people do I want to talk to? What kind of person do I want to be? And I think these are really powerful lessons that once you figure out networking, I think you can really accelerate with AI. But first you have to figure out what is the right type of conversation? How can I approach people? Because sometimes, and this has happened to me a few times where someone's so nervous, they act really weird. I had someone bow to me one time. I was like, I'm not that famous. Like you've massively overestimated my famousness. I was like I'm really famous to a very small number of people, like to 10 or 20,000 people, I'm very famous. To everyone else in the world, including my wife, I'm just a guy. But I was like, whoa. I'll never forget it because he was like, oh, so sorry to disturb you. And he bowed and walked away. I was like, he caught me when I was so bored. I had an hour with nothing to do and I was literally waiting. It was the best time for someone to ever approach me. And he thought I was upset. I was like, no, don't leave. I have no one to talk to. It's your moment. And it's always that, how do I approach a celebrity or someone to look up to, where you start to act, and it's not the celebrity who acts weird, it's the person. Once you realize it's you, if you just treat people like people, then you could start to really open a lot of doors, because everyone has universal experiences. Everyone's a person. Everyone goes through that. And I think that's when AI can really help you like prepare, like, what does this person care about? What do they talk about? Like one of the research things I'll do is look up, has a person ever walked out of a podcast and what did the host say? Because sometimes a celebrity walks out of a TV show. Like I've seen one, like some actors are like, I don't want to talk about movies. I just want to talk about my band. Well, I want to know if they have a rule like that before they come in so I don't accidentally step on the same landmine. Little things like that can really make a really big difference. So that's where research accelerates. But first you have to understand, and that's why I wanted to start here. And maybe we can now get into like, what are some of the ways you've used AI to accelerate your networking? For me, it really helps me remember people. That's one of my big challenges because I meet so many people and I have so many guests on the show. This show's been going for almost 10 years now. Like I don't want to forget people, but it just happens. I'm not very good at remembering faces after so long.
And that's a great question. So I will go back briefly about your daughter. So I would learn that, right? We meet somewhere or we're talking today and that comes out in the conversation and most people gloss over it. And you wouldn't have asked me, hey, Larry, if you know anyone that, has dealt with the Olympics and Taekwondo, but I would say we should talk offline because I've dealt in that world a little bit. Let me see if I could help get you connected to someone that could have that conversation or give you a little intel. But we'll put that aside. So that's separate from this podcast. But those are important things. And I don't think that would have came up with AI research because your family, maybe that wouldn't be out there for me to know about you and your daughter. However, when I look at AI today, I also tie in LinkedIn. So LinkedIn I talk about because LinkedIn to those conferences or one-on-one meetings, so much that we can learn about people through the shared connections or something interesting you put on your LinkedIn profile. The great thing is AI extracts from your LinkedIn profile. It extracts from whatever may be on the internet somewhere about you and other media, social media. And so I like using AI for preparation for internal meetings at my company, for networking meetings. There's so much I can get from AI. Now I got to double check because if you search for me and you pull something up on AI and Larry Kaufman, there's a Grandmaster chess champion, Larry Kaufman. I am not that person. We have the same name. I am not that good at chess. But if you said, hey, Larry, so wow, Grandmaster chess champion, you're wrong. So do a little diligence and see if the picture matches with what you see, from that AI search. But I will tell you, it does help in preparation for that meeting and to pull out those facts and where I could ask, about you from what I pulled from AI. And AI can actually give you, hey, what are some great questions I can ask Jonathan about his background in X, Y, and Z? And can you share some interesting facts about Jonathan in the past 10 years on his podcast? And no, I've never walked off a podcast. We're safe.
Yeah.
I deal with the same thing. Jonathan Green is such a common name that I'm like the eighth most famous Jonathan Green. There's like two authors. A Fault in Our Stars, that's written by Jonathan Green. There's a famous painter. And I have sometimes like messaged the wrong person because they have the same name. I try to be good about that, but it does happen. And sometimes it's really wild when someone has a wrong fact about you. Like, I wish I was the science fiction author, Jonathan Green. I love sci-fi. That would be amazing, but I haven't written all those books. But that's something that AI is getting better and better about. Like when I was first doing research, I said, ChatGPT, write in the style of Jonathan Green. And it started sounding like me. I was like, which one did you choose? And it was like, business author of Served a Master, Jonathan Green. And I was like, I'm in there. I made the cut. I thought, I didn't realize because some of my friends who've written books are in ChatGPT and some aren't. And of course, now there's all these big lawsuits about that. But I was like, oh, I made the cut. I'm someone who knows who I am, which is kind of interesting. And it's really one of the things that like I still use is like when I do research, I still do the face match. Like I think your LinkedIn profile picture is so important. And sometimes people don't change it for like 20 years. And I'm like really looking, I'm like, am I talking to the right person? Like sometimes like after an episode, I'll look up someone's LinkedIn profile to kind of make sure I send the link to the right place. And I'm looking at the video recording and making sure it's the same person. So that is really important. And people do reveal what's important to them. And this is like in the moment, things are very, very important. Like when you're trying to get your kids into a preschool, anyone who knows about preschools is like someone you'll talk to because like important to you in that moment. Those are the things AI can't pick up because it's so short in time. But exactly that, like I had this friend who I met at a conference. This is almost 15 years, maybe more than 15 years ago. And I was talking to him and he was really famous. And I was like, when you're not working, what do you do? And he's like, I use all my money from my business to fund amateur archaeology digs. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I fund my own digs. He puts millions of dollars into going to these places around the world. He always has a fossil in his pocket. And I was like, and for some reason, nobody knows that. I still run into him. I ask, and he always has a new, and they're always something that's like amazing because it's like he's that passionate about it. And I didn't ask a crazy question. I said, besides work, what do you like doing? And he just talked about it for 20 minutes. And if you let whatever people talk about and their voice slows down a little bit and they talk a longer answer, they care about it. And it's really like, it's not a big riddle, but most of what people care about is not work. Like sometimes like work, I care very much about my work, but it's my work. But it's like, I care more about my family. I just do. But if someone talks about work more than you, oh no, that's their priority. And that's okay. So you can figure out what they're passionate about and what they care about. And then that's what you have to remember. Like, it's amazing to me how many people ask someone's kids' names and then not remember it. Like, that's the first thing I'm writing down. Like, I don't want to forget that. It's so important. And people have different approaches. Like, one of the people that I did a really, really big project with was Mormon. And he has this story. He's like, when I was 22, I was really worried we couldn't have kids. I was like, at 22? Like, like, that's a very unique worry. I didn't have that at 22. And so I introduced him to someone. I was like, listen, before you meet my friend, he doesn't drink. He's very, very religious. He's a family guy. Don't talk about women. Don't talk about drinking. And he goes, hey, we're going to have a party tonight. Tons of tequila and models. I was like, what are you doing? I just told you that's not appropriate for this person. And it was like so uncomfortable because like my friend, both of them knew what I told him. And I was like, all right, well, this is not going to ever happen again. And it's like, different people need to meet different facets of your personality. And when you can understand what someone cares about, then it becomes very easy. Then the business just happens because we want to work with people we like.
I think if you can extract from AI about their philanthropic interests, those sometimes are near and dear to people. And so you may see, if you don't use AI and you're looking at someone's LinkedIn profile and you see under volunteering some of the passions they have for different charities, that's near and dear to someone's heart. And so you want to learn about that. And I do. I ask about that. It's important. I in my profile, I put March of Dimes. It's in there. You have to find it. And if someone were to ask me about March of Dimes, that'd be something I'd be passionate about because I supported March of Dimes, wasn't on a board, but financially supported it because my daughter was a preemie. March of Dimes research helped to save her when she was born at 26 weeks, a 2-pound baby. Now, I don't put that in the profile. If you just said, hey, Larry, I notice you support March of Dimes. Whenever I see that in someone's profile or it comes up on AI, I'm curious about your role with March of Dimes. Was there a preemie in your life? And that just opens up a deeper conversation.
It's so interesting because I think that's like probably one of the smartest things I've ever heard is that most people assume everyone else's charity selection is random.
but it's usually related to something you've been through. Like the things that you care about are because of the experiences you've had. I could talk to you about that for ages because my sister had a preemie, horrible situation, and we had a really, really tough incident when my second son was born where they were like, we don't think he's going to make it. And I was like, we're bringing in a different doctor. We brought in a second very expensive doctor, and she was like, I can save this baby. She had the level of confidence you want, like such a high level of cockiness. She was like, easy. And like, she did it, like she backed it up. One of the most expensive things I ever paid for, but I was like, oh, this is what it feels like when you'll pay anything. I'd never felt that before. But in that moment, I was like, she could say any number and I would find a way. I'm selling kidneys, I'm selling bones, whatever it takes. And it's like such a powerful experience. And that's exactly it, is that if you just take the time, and this is very interesting to think about, people don't choose the charities. There's so many charities that they don't choose the one they care about randomly. When you start from there and kind of understand someone's motivations, it's so much easier to have a conversation. It's just like, I think we have so many surface level conversations. It's like where you have the same 5 minute, what do you do? Where do you live? What's your favorite thing about your job? Okay, bye. And you have a business card. Like, you're not going to remember that because they kind of haven't become a person. They haven't become 3-dimensional. And I always try to meet people in different locations because then you form multiple memories. And then I try to talk about as many different topics as I can because you're going to remember one of them. Like most people who've read one of my books remember one sentence. They don't remember, nobody remembers the 7 habits of highly effective people. They remember the title, but they couldn't tell you all 7, right? It doesn't stick. And that's what's really important, is to kind of have enough conversations that you hit on the thing that matters to that person. So I think that's really, really interesting. I mean, I never talk this much on the podcast. Usually I'm doing interviews, but like, you're already doing it to me. I'm talking like twice as much as I normally do. I'm breaking the 30-70 rule, but I think exactly that. LinkedIn has become such a powerful resource where I often will look at someone's career to kind of understand their career trajectory. What do they care about? What did they used to do? What did they shifted to? Because now what's interesting about LinkedIn is people will list their side jobs very much. So to be like, I work here and then I'm CEO of this company. And that's kind of wild to me. I thought if I were like, haven't worked for someone else in a long time, that you would not list your side things on because it used to be like, oh, you don't want your boss to know you have a side hustle, but now I guess it's okay. And that's been a shift. And you can say, oh, this is what they do. This is what they care about. And you can start to understand why, like when they've done a pivot or what matters to them. And I think there is so much information out there that we kind of just aren't listening. And I think whether you're in conversation with someone, you're spending the whole time talking, or whether you're just take a quick glance at their LinkedIn profile and you don't click there's all those little more buttons that you can click on to see like more. And that's where the really good details are hidden, like to see where did someone start out. I'm always surprised. I've had a couple people that then I look at, oh, we went to the same college, we went to the same high school. I was talking to someone who went to the same high school as me, but he graduated 10 years earlier recently. Like it was random. It wasn't intentional, but those little things can provide those touch points. And if it's hard for you to notice them, that's where AI can really help you, is with the noticing. But then it's the remember to bring it up part that I think is really important.
I think you talked about, people in transition, and you talked about the things that you do wrong about networking. I think people in transition, they find networking again or for the first time. And so the big lesson learned, hopefully for everyone today, is don't network when you lose your job, network when you have your job. And for the folks in transition, the hard thing for a lot of folks that have been to this company for 10 years, first time I'm out, never built a network, AI is helpful for those people to find the jobs they want, to prepare, to learn about the companies, to research the people they're interviewing with, get all the questions, get all the insights, what's important about this role, the company's culture. There's so much they could find out about very, very quickly. If they have difficulty spending all the time to research, or where do I go, AI does streamline that and make it easier. But I do want to make that point. Don't network just because you're out of a job.
One of the biggest giveaways that you've been fired is that you suddenly like update your LinkedIn profile. And the problem with LinkedIn is every time you make a change, it goes, do you want to tell all your friends? And I was cleaning up my profile a couple weeks ago and it was like, it wanted to send out 50 notifications. I was like, don't send out any, because it's kind of a red flag, in the same way that for some reason we see open to work on a profile. It's like the scarlet letter, when really it's like useful. Every person I've ever hired was open to work when I hired them. It's not a bad thing, but we do wait too long. I think wherever you are, I always think of networking as farming, which is you plant seeds and you don't know which one's going to become the big pumpkin and which one's not going to work out. But I will meet someone, do something nice that I don't remember. Then 3 years later, they'll send me a huge opportunity. And it can take longer than you think for something good to come out, because it's kind of like luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And it's like the preparation is put a lot of seeds out there every time there's an opportunity to do an introduction or help someone out, like those little pieces. And then they do come back when it's the right time. And I think that's sometimes we get caught up in I want the immediacy. And it's hard when you're being like losing your job is so rough that you're like, I have a certain amount of time, and you feel this sense of urgency. And I felt that too. I've been in many situations like that. And it kind of can cause you to push too hard because you're like, well, I need an introduction now because I'm running out of time. So that's why, yeah, the earlier on you take action and the more strategic. And what we're seeing now with job hiring, I think AI has really messed up the hiring market, because you post a job, now you get 600 or 1,000 applications that have all been written by AI. And people will done interviews where I'm thinking about hiring someone and they have ChatGPT open on the screen. I'm like, you're using ChatGPT right now. Like, I want to talk to you. That's a problem. Like, whenever I want to hire someone, the first thing I do is ask all my employees, hey, do you know someone? I'd rather have a less qualified employee that comes in through referral than go through that entire process where there's like a 50% chance the person is completely unqualified and hoping I don't notice for 2 weeks. They're just trying to make it to that first paycheck before they get fired. So I think now networking is more important than it's ever been before. And there are opportunities where you can find people at different companies who can there's, a lot of companies have that internal bounty program. They're like, oh, before we post a job, if you know someone and they get hired, we give you a commission. Like, that's amazing. So now they're financially incentivized to find someone. So you can reach out to people that you only know a little bit on LinkedIn, like, hey, if anyone in your company's hiring, let me know. I'll make sure to say you sent me in so you get the bounty. Someone will say yes to that. Like, you can open up some doors with a little bit of strategy using that and realizing, okay, if the traditional method of sending out resumes doesn't work, what's the right thing to do? And a lot of it is just, I'm always amazed by people who they're starting a new entrepreneurship journey, or they're like, I'm looking for a job. Like, who have you told? Nobody. You got to tell people, like, how else is anyone going to send you a referral or send you a client or let you know there's a job opening if they don't know you're looking? So I have done a lot of ghostwriting in my career. People are like, how do you find clients? I was like, I just tell people. Oh, there's not a lot of people that walk around saying I'm ghostwriters. I say that, and then I'll meet someone and they're like, oh, we're actually looking for someone. Like, oh, let's talk about it. If it's right fit, it's right fit. And it's like, if you don't tell anyone, and there's this fear that if you tell people before you're successful, it's like a dishonesty. And it's like, no, you can tell people. Everyone says they're an actor who's not. Go to everyone I meet so many people who go, oh, I'm an author. I'm like, oh, what's the name of your book? Like, I haven't started it yet. So people do that too. So you can do it for whatever career you want. If it's okay for actors and movie stars not yet, but it is the soft skills that get you those next opportunities. But yeah, AI can really help you with the research and thinking, okay, what type of place do I want to work? What does this company care about? Because companies post what are their core values? And when they have an employee appreciation day, what type of events they say a lot about what they care about. Like, some companies really care about working together, and some companies really care about having a mission, and some companies really care about just getting your work done and nobody talks to each other. And if that, you can find the place you want to work that you fit. So I really like these ideas. This is really, really helpful, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when I talk to people in transition, I'm trying to teach them that networking is a good thing. But you're right. I think people feel rushed. Hey, Jonathan, I'm glad Larry put us together. I'm looking for a new role in marketing. Was just laid off. And so let me tell you all about myself. And so for the next hour or half hour or 45, you're hearing all about that person. They're not asking about you. And I have many of those calls. And so here's what I do at the end is I want to let them talk. And sometimes people are in a very tough spot. I got 3 kids in college. I got no severance, no outplacement. I don't know what to do. I want to let them talk. Say, here's my advice to you. I'm going to help you. Here's some things you could do. And I give them advice on LinkedIn, AI, and other things they could do. When you kick off that next networking conversation, I want you to open up with, Jonathan, great to meet you. I just want to let you know I'm in transition. I'm glad that we were introduced. I want to learn more about you today as well. And, and then happy to share more about myself. And the reason you want to do that up front, it's twofold. One, because you're not all about you. And the other is, Jonathan, when he hears that, he's going to be like, you know what? Thanks a lot. You're in transition. I'm not, but I appreciate you offering that. Let me learn more about you and how I can help you. It will shift back around, but if you're just showing up and throwing up, it's very difficult. And I will always, even with those folks, I'll say, how can I help you, Jonathan? Is there anything else I can do to help you out? No, I'm all good. Now I am waiting for Jonathan to say, Larry, is there anything I can do to help you? It's very rare that they do that because they're in a tough spot. They're not thinking they could help. But you know what? Just offering to help. You have a network. I'm not going to take advantage of it, but you know what? If you just put that out there, it's a good thing to say. I never expected. I don't need it. That's not the life that I lead. But not everyone is like me or like you. And you have to assume some people you're meeting with are meeting with you because someone said, meet with Larry. And maybe they're not happy about it. Make them happy about it and turn it back to how you can help them. So I always say the 5 words, how can I help you? Ask it every day in a networking meeting, someone in transition, whatever it is, find a way to say it to your staff, to anyone around you. It will be very powerful.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people assume that there's a power imbalance and they go, oh, this person's more successful, more famous, whatever than me. And so I would have nothing they would want. And so it causes you to, which is a flawed assumption. Like when I lived in England, I met some really, really famous people that I didn't recognize because I don't know every English celebrity. And I'll never forget, I was in this really, really fancy nightclub that like, I only got in because I would go like the 5 minutes it opened. When you're a guy, you have to get in really early. And I would wait for everyone else to show up 2 hours later. And I'm talking to this guy next to me. We're having a drink together. I buy him like a $10 tequila, right? Which was a lot of money to me at the time. And he bought me a drink, whatever. I came back and everyone's like, how do you know him? And I go, what do you mean? They go, he plays for England. He was like super famous soccer player. And I was like, oh, he's just a guy next to me. I just chatted to him because he was near me. And when you get rid of these assumptions, right? Oh, because if I'd walked up and go, this guy's famous, why would he talk to me? It would have been really weird. When you release those assumptions, and I just happen to not recognize him, right? You can have these amazing conversations because when you're really famous or when you're really beautiful, it's the same thing. Like you never know if someone actually likes you because they want something from you. And so it's like there's no honesty there. So if you remove that and you can just talk to someone like a person, like it doesn't happen very often to famous people. Like that's where they're famous, they're friends with each other because they don't try and take pictures with each other and whatever. Like that's exactly it. So don't worry so much that there's a power imbalance because sometimes it is exactly that. Like sometimes people just want to hear a story. Like sometimes people just want someone to be authentic. Like I've known people who were massively successful or massively famous and they just want someone to be nice to them and like talk to them in a normal way, or like they're going through something with their family. Like one of my friends is like going through a really tough medical situation in his family. And it's like, people think that being rich, it can't solve everything, right? Like some things have no cure. And it's like, that's all he wants to talk about. And it's me too. I get it, right? Like if my wife was sick, it's all I would think about. And like going through that and like, it becomes your centerpiece and you'd be amazed. I think you'd be amazed how much really successful people sometimes just want someone to listen who doesn't want anything from them. So I love this advice, which is, what can I do for you? What are you going through? What are you working on? Just these, if you need to build up to it, right? Ask a few questions and find out. Like I've interviewed some really amazing people, like really high in the military, and generals, and I've talked to a general and a admiral this year, and they both said that to me. And I was like, you already did it. You already talked to me. Like, it's so, like already amazing, but you can always, really high level people do say that a lot. So I think it is a great piece of advice to remind yourself. And we do sometimes think, oh, well, they wouldn't want anything from me. Just release that because you never know. And just the offer again, like just offering it shows that you're not selfish. It is. We sometimes think this is my one shot and this is my only time I'll ever meet this person. So I have to ask my one big question, like my one investing question, or my one business question. And then you're assuming that like you'll never talk to the person again. You're creating a one-time conversation by having that assumption. And like I started my career, I went to this conference, I looked at the list of speakers and I said, I'm just going to become friends with all of them. One of my big secrets is I talk to people before they give their talk, not after. Is once you give your talk at a conference, then everyone's recognizing you. But for like if you're on day 2, all of day 1, no one's recognizing you. Like that's always been amazing to me. I'm like, why not just talk to the person when they're bored or alone or whatever? And you're amazed how much people just are more normal than you think.
We're all people, right? And so Look, I just want to get to know people and I want to be helpful to people. But those that are in need or trying to sell something or in transition, they need something from you. But it's hard to ask for favors or help if you haven't tried to build a relationship, if you haven't tried to get to know the other person, if you haven't tried to offer up your relationship base, your network, or just ask, how can I be helpful to you? I'm not sure what I could do. I'm in transition, but even that offer goes so far. And so I think it's, look, the greatest thing we can do for other people, it's giving our time and our knowledge. And so I can share that, but I can do much more. But if we ask good questions, Jonathan, get to know people, you volunteered that about your daughter. But if we were having a networking conversation and I was in transition, but I heard that, but I happen to know people that were in the Olympics or in martial arts and I could share a connection point, that'd be a good thing. And so I don't have to ask you how I can help you. I go, hey, Jonathan, you mentioned about your daughter. Could I facilitate a connection? And you'd be like, oh my God, Larry, I never even thought you would be able to provide that. Thank you so much. So it goes a long way, but it's asking good questions. It's listening and not showing up and throwing up and sharing everything about you that you just feel, I got that 30 minutes or I got that 10 minutes at this conference. I got to share as much as I can about me. I don't care about that.
And like I said at the very beginning, like the more the other person talks, the more they'll remember you, which is really interesting. So it's like, you don't have to talk that much about you. Sometimes you have the shortest conversation and it can be significant to the other person. If it's at the right moment or the right time, or they need someone to talk to, or if you just listen, like I have this tendency to end up in the weirdest situations. Like I always meet really famous people on both sides of the law. Like I always end up in situations where I'm like, in Japan, I met a guy from the Yakuza who was like missing the finger and took a picture holding it up, showing the missing finger with me pretending. And my friends were like, that's insane. I was like, that kind of thing happens to me so much. Like, it's not to me, it's just another story because it happened to me in Thailand. It happened to me in London. Like, sometimes the person's like in both sides of famousness. And I just run into people and it's, you just listen and be like, oh, how do you get along with everyone? I just kind of listen and I don't make assumptions and I don't really care about a lot of things. I just say, oh, what are you dealing? Because everyone, talking about their family, what they're going through. And once you realize that, yeah, you can just ask people, what are you going through? What are you working on? What do you need? And if you just listen, the power and balance, it's not really there. A lot of times they just want to talk to someone who's outside of their normal social circle for a few minutes. And you can have these amazing conversations in different places. Like the one thing I loved about living in London was the subway because everyone on the subway is bored. Like nobody wants to be there. It's too hot. And you can talk to the most amazing people and like have these amazing conversations. You might as well because you're stuck there. Like we have this idea that nobody wants to talk. It's like, no, everyone is bored. Everyone doesn't want to be there. It's my favorite opportunity. I love lines. It's the best time to talk to people because they're already bored. So, and yeah, you never know unless you listen, unless you ask what someone's thinking about or what someone's going through. And you might just have a friend of a friend who could like actually answer those questions and kind of whatever they're thinking about. And I always try to talk about the thing with someone who it's the area where they're not. Like if someone's really famous, I don't want to talk about fame. If someone's really wealthy, I don't want to talk about business because they don't want to. Like when I'm not at work, I do not talk about AI. I don't. That's really kind of one of been my other secrets is like, well, let's talk to this person about something where we're on even footing. I'll talk to anyone with kids about parenting because it's like, it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are. We deal with the same stuff, right? It's just maybe slightly different modality, but everyone deals with their kids asking for presents that are too big or presents that are too small, or your kids fighting with each other, your kids saying, which one of us do you love the most? And now you're just two dads, or you know what I mean? And like, that's kind of reminder that once you let go of this power disparity, you say, oh, what are you doing with? What are you going through? Yeah, it's really powerful. I think this can help a lot of people who have been trying to figure out the networking thing because now it's become so important and they thought I have to like get all my information out there to be remembered. And I think this will really help a lot of people in that seeing how you can use AI to help you with the research, help you with remembering, accelerate the things. Accelerating good networking is really the best use of AI. For people who want to read your book, want to see kind of what you're doing on LinkedIn, what are the best places to find you, Larry? Because this has been a really great episode.
Thank you. Well, my book is on Amazon. So you just type in the NCG, Networking, Connecting, Giving, the NCG Factor by Larry Kaufman. And so you find me on Amazon. And then also on LinkedIn, you look up Larry Kaufman in Chicago. My name is in all caps. I'm with Jefferson Wells. And that way you'll know that's who I am. I put out a lot of content. I've got websites and other information, and even the blurb about March Dimes. You got to search my profile, but a lot of good insight into who I am in that profile.
We'll make sure to put all the links below the video in the show notes for everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Larry, for an amazing episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back next Monday with more tips and strategies on how to leverage AI to grow your business and achieve better results. In the meantime, if you're curious about how AI can boost your business's revenue, head over to artificialintelligencepod.com/calculator. Use our AI revenue calculator to discover the potential impact AI can have on your bottom line. It's quick, easy, and might just change the way you think about your business. While you're there, catch up on past episodes, leave a review, and check out our socials.